Close your eyes for a moment and let's transport ourselves. Imagine standing in ancient Rome, perhaps, at the height of its imperial power.
Okay, I'm there.
Picture the colossal aqueducts, those monumental arteries of stone and water stretching for miles across the landscape, defying gravity to bring life-giving water to millions.
Truly incredible engineering.
Feel the grandeur of its forums, bustling with the vibrant hum of commerce, impassioned political debate, and daily life. Then trace in your mind the intricate network of roads, meticulously engineered with a foresight that still astounds us, connecting an entire empire like an enormous living nervous system.
It really is breathtaking when you think about it.
It truly is. Now, take a beat. Try to imagine the brilliant minds, the sheer genius that conceived, designed, and brought these enduring structures to life, not just for a generation, but, well, for centuries.
The minds behind the monuments.
Welcome to the Deep Dive, where today we are pulling back the curtain on the architectural wisdom that didn't just shape individual buildings, but entire civilizations. We're embarking on a fascinating journey to explore the foundational texts, the very blueprints of two titans who, separated by over a millennium, profoundly influenced how we build.
And those titans are Vitruvius, the Roman master whose insights laid the theoretical and practical groundwork.
Right.
And Andrea Palladio, the Renaissance revivalist who, centuries later, breathed new life into those classical ideals, making them accessible and adaptable for his own time and well beyond.
Our mission today is to uncover the timeless principles these visionaries articulated, to understand the innovative construction practices of their eras, and to reveal how these ancient blueprints continue to inform everything from modern city planning to, cutting-edge sustainable design.
Think of it as your shortcut to appreciating the enduring genius that underlies so much of what we see and build today, and perhaps even challenging us to think critically about what we, in turn, are constructing for future generations.
Yeah, what legacy are our old structures leaving? That's a powerful way to frame it.
Mm-hmm.
So when we talk about Roman feats, we're not just discussing impressive individual buildings. We're talking about an ambition so vast it's scaled from the everyday efficiency of a private city house to immense public works that still astound us with their scale and longevity.
Absolutely.
What was it about Roman infrastructure, particularly their roads, that truly elevated them beyond mere paths?
Well, you've hit on a crucial point about the scale of their ambition. They weren't just paving routes, they were literally building lifelines for an empire. Palladio himself, centuries later, described the extraordinary care the ancients took with their roads.
Care. That's interesting. Not just function, but care.
Exactly. This wasn't a casual endeavor. They established dedicated preventors and curators, essentially, public works commissions and overseers, specifically to manage these monumental projects. This level of institutionalized planning for infrastructure is quite striking when you consider the era.
It speaks to an incredible foresight, doesn't it? To not just build, but to create an entire administrative apparatus around building for the long term. Can you give us some specific examples of these legendary Roman roads?
Oh, absolutely. Think of the Flaminian Way, for instance, originally built by Flaminius after his victory over the Genoese, but later extended all the way to Aquileia by M. Lepidus. It wasn't a single project, but an evolving strategic network.
Wow. So constantly adapting and expanding.
Precisely. Or, perhaps most famous, the legendary Appian Way, started by Appius Claudius. Poets famously dubbed it the Queen of Ways, and for good reason.
The Queen of Ways. I like that.
It stretched from the Colosseum, or rather the area where the Colosseum would later stand, all the way to Brundier, a staggering distance of hundreds of miles, connecting the heart of the empire to the Adriatic coast.
Hundreds of miles. And the engineering behind them wasn't just about laying stone. It involved truly Herculean efforts.
Oh, completely. We're talking about drying up fenny places, literally draining vast swamps. It meant leveling mountains, filling up valleys to create continuous gradients, and of course, making ingenious bridges where necessary to span rivers and ravines.
Massive undertakings.
Yeah.
Millennia before we had anything resembling bulldozers or laser levels.
Exactly. These were massive infrastructure projects. What does that tell us about their ingenuity and commitment?
It tells us they had a profound understanding of topography and hydrology and an incredible capacity for organized labor. They weren't just building roads, they were reshaping the landscape.
Mm-hmm. Their ingenuity with bridges alone, which we'll definitely get into later, is a testament to this. But the core point is this. These structures weren't just impressive for their sheer scale. They were built to last, driven by fundamental principles of durability, functionality, and beauty.
principles we still grapple with today, even with all our advanced technology.
Right. So to really unpack this, let's start with the Roman who laid the philosophical and practical groundwork for so much of what came after, Vitruvius.
Perfect. So let's start with the Roman foundation, Vitruvius. It's truly remarkable to think that he's the only ancient writer on architecture whose complete work, 10 books on architecture, has survived to our day.
An incredible stroke of luck for history, really.
He basically became the master and guide for everyone who came after him, influencing architects for nearly 2 millennia. His writing wasn't just about how to build, it delved into the very art of it, the different kinds of training an architect needed, and the scientific principles behind good design.
He was a true polymath, wasn't he? And that's what makes his work so foundational.
Absolutely.
What's particularly fascinating, and something that might surprise you, is that while he doesn't explicitly list the exact Latin trio of firmitas, utilitas, venustas, strength, utility, and beauty as a rigid, codified formula in the specific text we have.
Oh, interesting. I always thought he coined that exact phrase.
Well, not quite as a neat list in the way it's often presented later, but his entire body of work, and indeed the spirit of Roman architecture, extensively covers and embodies these very concepts throughout. He understood them intuitively as interdependent pillars of good building, each essential for a successful, enduring structure.
So he essentially lived and breathed these principles, even if he didn't always list them as, like, a bulleted trio. Let's break down these core ideas, starting with firmitas, strength, and durability.
The bedrock, literally.
For Vitruvius, the solid ground literally began with the site itself. He emphasized selecting healthy sites as preeminent and necessary for fortified towns. This wasn't just a casual suggestion. What did this involve, and why was it so important to him?
It was far from casual. He was essentially advocating for a proto-form of urban planning driven by environmental factors and public health concerns. He talked about understanding the geometrical figures of winds and their quarters, and how to properly lay out streets and houses to mitigate their impact.
Mitigate the wind.
For health. For health, for comfort, and for defense, too. He was thinking about how a town's orientation could affect everything from air circulation to exposure to disease, maybe even miasmas as they might have thought of them. This shows a deep, almost ecological understanding of the site's role in human well-being.
That's incredibly forward-thinking. It's not just about erecting a building, but about how that building or city interacts with its natural environment.
Exactly. But beyond the site, the choice of building materials was, of course, paramount. Vitruvius went into surprising detail about their various advantages and structures and their natural properties.
What does this tell us about the scientific rigor of Roman builders? It seems much more than just rule of thumb.
Oh, definitely. It reveals an astonishing depth of empirical material science. He wasn't just saying use good stone. He was specifying which good stone for which purpose. Take lime, for example.
Right, for mortar.
He stressed the importance of its source, whether it came from white, soft, or hard stone, and how its qualities differed. For structural parts, he recommended a close-grained stone of the harder sort, while for stucco, a more porous stone was better.
Okay, that makes sense. Different jobs, different materials.
And the mixing proportions for mortar. He specified 3 parts sand to 1 lime for pit sand, or 2 parts sand to 1 lime for river or sea sand.
Wait, different sand types needed different ratios.
Yes. And crucially, he recommended adding burnt brick dust, like crushed pottery, for river or sea sand mortar. This actually improved its hydraulic properties, its ability to set underwater, and overall strength.
That level of specificity is incredible. It's not just observation. It's a proto-scientific method of testing, understanding, and standardizing. They knew that a small change in composition could dramatically impact the longevity of a structure.
Exactly. This isn't just a builder's handbook, it's a manual of material science. Sand itself wasn't just sand, it was a key component with different sources yielding different qualities. Even something as seemingly simple as fir wood
Was differentiated by its qualities, depending on whether it was highland or lowland fir, and how that affected its strength and durability. This attention to detail meant their structures weren't just grand, they were designed to endure.
And of course, even the best materials won't hold up without a solid base, right?
Mm-hmm.
How did Vitruvius approach something as fundamental as foundations, especially when dealing with such colossal structures?
He understood that the foundation was the critical base, literally the ground zero of any lasting structure. He described ingenious, saw-shaped constructions attached to the wall and diagonal structures within retaining walls.
Saw-shaped, like buttresses.
Sort of, but
Yeah.
integrated differently. These weren't merely decorative. They were designed to check and distribute the pressure against the earth, preventing the filling from thrusting with its full destructive force against the main wall.
Ah, so managing the earth pressure itself. Precisely. This demonstrates a profound understanding of structural mechanics and load distribution, anticipating concepts that engineers would formalize centuries later. It's about more than just holding a wall up. It's about managing the forces around and within it.
Okay, that covers firmitas, the strength. Moving from strength to purpose, let's talk about utilitas, utility and functionality.
Making it work, making it appropriate.
For Vitruvius, this wasn't just about practical use, but a deeper sense of appropriateness and purpose-driven design. He really shone here, particularly in his rationale for temple design. He stated that propriety is that perfection of style which comes when a work is authoritatively constructed on approved principles. What did this mean in practice, especially regarding the orders of columns?
This was a cornerstone of his philosophy. It wasn't just a matter of picking an order you like. It was about matching the architectural style to the character and purpose of the building, especially in the sacred realm.
So different gods got different styles.
Exactly. For virile gods like Minerva, Mars, and Hercules, he prescribed the Doric order. He explained that daintiness would be entirely inappropriate for their houses, seeing the Doric as sturdy, austere, and inherently masculine, reflecting their martial and powerful nature.
You can just picture it, can't you? A robust, stoic design for a warrior god. Makes sense.
Then for delicate divinities, such as Venus, Flora, Proserpine, Springwater, and the nymphs, the Corinthian order was deemed to have peculiar significance.
Because of the leaves and scrolls.
Precisely. Its slender outlines, its flowers, leaves, and ornamental volutes perfectly match the grace, femininity, and abundance associated with these deities.
And what about the gods in between?
For gods of a middle position, like Juno, Diana, or Father Bacchus, the Ionic order provided an appropriate combination of the severity of the Doric and the delicacy of the Corinthian. It's a complete system of symbolic, practical, and aesthetically appropriate design.
Wow. This wasn't just about building. It was about communicating through architecture.
That's a profound thought, isn't it? Architecture as communication, not just construction. But his practical considerations extended far beyond just temples, didn't they?
Right, like we mentioned with the layout of towns for health and protection against winds. It shows that utilitas wasn't limited to a single building, but encompassed the entire built environment, almost a holistic public health approach.
Precisely. His work covered everything from individual components to entire cities. And this brings us naturally to the third principle, venustas' beauty and propriety.
The visual appeal, the harmony.
For Vitruvius, this wasn't superficial ornamentation, but a deep, logical extension of firmitas and utilitas, deeply intertwined with logic, proportion, and even human perception. His detailed notes on column proportions are a great example of this integrated thinking.
He talked about the swelling and diminution of columns. What was he getting at here? Like the entasis.
Exactly, the subtle curve, but also the overall thickness relative to spacing. He explained that their thickness must be enlarged in proportion to the increase of the distance between the columns.
So if they're far apart, they need to be thicker.
Right. Imagine a row of columns. If they're too far apart, what Vitruvius called aerostyle, or wide intercolumniation, a thin column looks almost lost, a bit puny or mean.
Okay, I could see that.
But if they're too close together, in pycnostyles or close intercolumniation, a thick column can make the whole structure feel heavy and cramped, almost swollen and ungraceful.
So finding that visual sweet spot.
Vitruvius was obsessed with finding that perfect visual harmony, ensuring the columns looked right, not awkward, no matter their spacing.
And this commitment to visual perfection goes even deeper. Here's where it gets really interesting, and frankly, quite modern. His understanding of ocular deception.
Optical illusions in ancient Rome.
Pretty much. Vitruvius observed that columns at corners appear more slender because they're sharply outlined by the unobstructed air around them. Now, what does that tell us not just about their observational skills, but about their commitment to the perceived perfection of a building?
That's profound, isn't it? It demonstrates a fundamental insight. Architecture isn't just about what is structurally sound, but what looks right to the human eye.
So what did he suggest doing about it?
To counteract this visual trick, he recommended making those corner columns thicker than the others by a 50th of their own diameter. A tiny adjustment, but visually significant.
Just a 50th. But enough to correct the illusion.
Exactly. He was correcting for an optical illusion, ensuring the building appeared uniformly robust and aesthetically balanced from all angles. This wasn't just a technical fix, it was a deeply psychological one, long before we had terms like cognitive science.
It speaks to a holistic approach where the human experience was central to design, even at this incredibly nuanced level. It really makes you wonder how many other subtle tricks they embedded in their work.
It absolutely does. So it's not just about precision, but also about understanding the human element and how we perceive space. This idea of correcting perception still resonates in modern architectural challenges.
Like how light plays on materials, or designing public spaces maybe.
Exactly. Vitruvius's contributions weren't just about buildings. They demonstrated a holistic approach. Take water management, for instance.
Right, you mentioned that earlier, not just aqueducts, but understanding the water itself.
Yes. He discussed hot springs, attributing their warmth to fire. Beneath an alum or asphalt or sulfur, heating the earth and boiling sweet water. But he also warned of deadly kinds of water from noxious soil.
Like polluted groundwater.
Essentially. He cited examples like the Spring of Neptune at Terracina, which the ancients had to stop up, and a lake at Crobs in Thrace, which was fatal to those who drank or bathed in it. This wasn't just an architectural concern, it was public safety and health, integrated right into the architect's purview.
It underlines the architect's role as a kind of civic engineer and even a proto-environmental scientist. His curiosity seems boundless.
It really does. It extended to fields we wouldn't typically associate with an architect today, like astronomy and timekeeping. He explained moon phases, referencing Aristarchus of Samos's explanation that the moon reflects the sun.
So he was scientifically literate for his time.
Very much so. And for sundials, he described their construction, explaining how equinoctial shadows vary by latitude, like Rome's 89ths or Athens's 34ths.
Which wasn't just academic curiosity, right? Timekeeping was crucial.
Absolutely. Crucial for managing construction projects, religious observances, and civic life. It shows a deeply scientific mind connecting celestial mechanics to practical life.
That's fascinating. But his insights weren't limited to the peaceful arts, were they? He also delved into machines of war and construction.
He absolutely did. He described devices like windlasses, axle trees, and massive drums. The Greeks called them didis, or arepidikiof, basically. Big capstans for lifting colossal loads in construction.
The heavy machinery of the ancient world.
You got it. And he detailed siege engines, including a formidable large tower 20 stories high, complete with galleries and covered in rawhide for protection.
20 stories, it's huge.
And he described the tortoise of the battering ram, a massive mobile structure 30 cubits square at its base, 13 cubits high, topped with a 4-story tower for launching projectiles.
Scorpions and catapults.
And even equipped with water storage to fight fires. This highlights the practical application of architectural and mechanical knowledge in warfare.
And he even shared that fantastic anecdote about Diognetus baffling Demetrius' siege engine, the Helepolis.
Right. Diognetus supposedly created a swamp in front of the city wall using water, excrement, and filth poured through pipes. The engine got stuck, couldn't move, and Demetrius had to retreat.
Resourceful, if a bit disgusting.
It just highlights that Vitruvius wasn't merely an academic. He was someone deeply attuned to both the theory and practical application of knowledge, including creative problem-solving under extreme pressure.
His holistic approach was truly groundbreaking. He was designer, engineer, urban planner, material scientist, even a military strategist, all rolled into one.
He was, and his influence was immense, providing the theoretical bedrock, the deep understanding of principles, materials, and even the broader scientific and civic context of building.
Okay, so that sets the stage with Vitruvius. Now let's fast forward over 1,400 years to the Renaissance,
A huge leap in time, but a direct intellectual lineage.
where another master, Andrea Palladio, would explicitly pick up Vitruvius's torch and reinterpret it for a new era, essentially translating ancient wisdom into a new architectural language.
And Palladio's legacy is truly immense. He's described as a famous architect whose 4 books of architecture are universally esteemed the best standard of architecture hitherto extant. That's high praise.
And for good reason.
Yeah.
He wasn't just creating beautiful buildings. He was codifying a system, making classical architecture accessible and teachable in a way it hadn't been before.
What's crucial to understand is that Palladio wasn't just inspired by Vitruvius, he explicitly declared him his master and guide. In his preface, Palladio stated, "I propose to myself Vitruvius for my master and guide."
He put it right out there.
He took that role seriously, embarking on an incredible journey. He deeply studied the relics of all the ancient edifices across Italy and beyond, meticulously measuring their parts to comprehend what the whole had been and reduce it into doing.
He was like an architectural detective, wasn't he? Piecing together the past by measuring ruins.
Exactly. He was reverse engineering the past to build for his present, creating a meticulous record of ancient forms and principles. This was a conscious, scholarly effort to revive and understand ancient Roman principles firsthand, not just blindly copy them.
So it was about understanding the why, not just the what. And his books then became a blueprint, not just for his time, but for centuries to come, profoundly influencing Western architecture.
You see Palladian influence everywhere, especially in Britain and the US.
Absolutely. Book 2, for instance, focused on private fabrics, covering decorum, the disposition of rooms, townhouses, and villas.
While Book 3 went into public infrastructure roads, bridges, piazzas, and basilicas, showing his continued dedication to civic architecture, just like Vitruvius.
And Book 4 was entirely dedicated to temples, emphasizing dignity and grandeur in their design. He systematically covered the entire spectrum of building, providing practical, detailed guidance.
Let's look at Palladian design principles in practice, starting with domestic architecture, truly the art of living.
Okay. He considered the atrio, or porch, a very remarkable part of ancient houses.
Yeah.
He detailed different kinds, drawing directly from Vitruvius, the Tuscan, of 4 columns, Corinthian, Testugginato, and uncovered.
He even specified dimensions for the Tuscan atrio, stating its breadth should be 2/3 of the length, and the tablino, an adjoining room, 2/5 of that of the atrio and of the same length.
What's the impact of Palladio being so prescriptive here? Does this stifle creativity or ensure harmony? It seems quite rigid.
That's a great question. While it might seem restrictive by modern standards, Palladio's detailed measurements weren't meant to stifle creativity, but rather to provide a proven framework for harmony and proportion.
Like musical scales for architecture.
Exactly. He believed that by adhering to these classical ratios derived from centuries of observation and Vitruvian principles, architects could ensure beauty, balance, and a sense of order. It aimed for a consistent aesthetic vocabulary.
So it was about providing a foundation of good design, a common language. His advice for villas was particularly insightful, moving beyond just the house to its entire setting.
Yes, he addressed the site to be chosen for the fabrics of villas, emphasizing a balance between utility and cannulation from the country house.
Consolation, like a place of retreat and restoration.
Precisely. He saw them as places for exercise, mental restoration, and quiet study, acknowledging the psychological and therapeutic benefits of environment. But he also gave very practical warnings,
Right.
advising against sites that were continually shaded, scorching from reflected sun, or exposed to the fury of winds and valleys. He was thinking about both the practical comfort and the emotional well-being of the inhabitants, much like Vitruvius considered the health of a town.
He even thought about the preservation of wine. His practical advice for cellars was to place them underground, include, and far from any noise, moisture, or ill smell,
Quiet, dark, cool.
and to receive their light only from the east or from the north, to prevent the sun from warming and spoiling the wines. This is attention to detail that elevates building from mere shelter to a thoughtful, integrated environment.
Absolutely. And his principles extended directly to room layout and windows, again with precise proportions. He advocated for specific room proportions, suggesting lengths that were 2/3 more than the breadth. For example, an 18-foot breadth should have a 30-foot length.
Specific ratios again.
And windows.
For windows, he advised they be not wider than the 4th part of the breadth of the rooms or narrower than the 5th, and a specific height of 2 acores and a 6th part of their breadth more in height.
Wow, that's very precise.
Crucially, he stressed that windows nevertheless ought to be all equal in the same order or story for visual consistency and harmony. What's the hidden insight here for modern designers from such detailed prescriptions?
It's fascinating because it's about controlling the visual experience, right? If windows are too wide, a room can feel exposed or unbalanced. Too narrow, and it feels cramped.
And keeping them equal ensures a sense of calm and order from the outside, preventing a chaotic facade. It's an early form of modular design and visual rhythm, ensuring that a building reads correctly and gracefully.
Indeed. A guide to creating legible, beautiful architecture. Moving to public structures, the fabric of society, Palladio again offered meticulous detail, understanding their civic importance.
Like bridges, He seemed fascinated by them.
Yes, for bridges, he discussed their construction and critical site selection. He detailed wooden bridges, referencing Julius Caesar's famous one over the Rhine, the Sismone, and his own design for the Bassano Bridge over the Brenta River, a massive structure 180 feet wide, supported by 5 orders of piles.
He wasn't just describing history, he was learning from it and applying it in his own work.
Exactly. And he didn't stop there. He also described stone bridges, singling out the bridge at Rimino, which he judged most beautiful and the most worthy of consideration, likely built by Augustus Caesar.
What made it so worthy of consideration?
He noted its strength, the compartments or spans, and its overall disposition, with 5 semicircular arches of precise dimensions. His observation that the angle of the spurs that cut the water is a right one, because it's stronger than the acute one,
The pier shape.
shows a deep understanding of hydraulic engineering and structural integrity that was truly advanced for his time. It's a perfect example of firmitas and utilitas working together seamlessly.
Absolutely. And then the piazzas and basilicas, the very heart of Roman civic life.
He described them as places where judges sat under cover to administer justice and where great and important affairs were debated. He cited historical examples like the Basilica Portia and the celebrated Basilica of Paulus Aemilius.
The one that cost 900,000 crowns.
Yeah.
Huge money.
Staggering. He placed them adjoining to the piazzi and facing the warmest region of the heavens, south-facing, to accommodate regents and those with lawsuits in winter.
So again, blending utility with comfort, climate considerations, and social function. It's early public space design considering both physical and social needs.
It really is. And his dedication to the divine proportion was most evident in temple design. Palladio argued for bringing structures consecrated to God to the greatest perfection we are capable of, drawing parallels to the beautiful machine of the world.
What did he mean by that? Our little temples ought to resemble this very great one. But was it purely aesthetic or something more profound?
It was profoundly philosophical, I think. He believed that the universe itself was ordered by divine mathematical proportions and that sacred architecture should reflect this cosmic harmony. This wasn't just about making things look nice. It was about imbuing buildings with a spiritual and intellectual resonance.
Creating harmony through proportion.
Right. He even advocated for columns without pedestals, beginning directly from the floor, for grandeur and magnificence. Why would omitting the pedestal make such a difference to grandeur?
Maybe it makes the column seem to rise more organically and majestically from the ground, like it's rooted more directly.
That's a great way to put it. Connecting directly to the beautiful machine of the world concept. It was about an uninterrupted, powerful, vertical ascent, symbolizing aspiration, perhaps.
A seamless connection to the earth and the heavens, stripping away anything that might interrupt that sense of monumental scale. He detailed various temple aspects like false-winged, what he called pseudo-dipteros designs.
Where columns appear to go all the way around but don't, creating an illusion of larger scale.
Clever. And thick of column structures. He discussed the Temple of Jupiter, noting its Corinthian order columns and specific architrave, frieze, and cornice details.
And he mentioned the round temple of Vesta, built by Numa Pompilius, which had a round form in re-emblance of the element of the earth. Every detail, from the overall shape to the smallest carving, had meaning and purpose, tying back to those core Vitruvian principles.
Even stairs got the Palladio treatment.
Exactly. Even less obvious elements, like stairs, received his meticulous attention. He described winding staircases, also called acciociola, which could be round or oval, with or without a central column. He noted Trajan's column as a prime example of such a winding stair.
Which is incredible in itself.
And credited a Signor Luigi Cornaro for stair inventions. So what does all this meticulous documentation and reinterpretation from Palladio truly mean for us?
Well, he essentially created a comprehensive bridge between classical ideals and Renaissance practicalities, right? Making ancient wisdom accessible and adaptable.
And directly influencing centuries of design, from Europe to America. He did it with such precision that his work became a practical handbook, not just a theoretical treatise. A remarkable achievement.
It really is. But what's even more remarkable is that these ancient blueprints, these principles, articulated by Vitruvius and then masterfully reinterpreted by Palladio, continue to echo in our modern world.
They really do. Many of the fundamental challenges they faced, ensuring structural integrity, creating spaces that serve human well-being, still exist. And their solutions, or at least the principles behind them, are surprisingly profoundly relevant today.
The lessons are enduring. Let's start with firmitas in the modern context. Strength, safety, and resilience.
Okay, how does that translate today?
Well, today this translates into rigorous engineering and innovative construction techniques, often building on those ancient understandings. For foundations, for instance, we now employ deep foundations when the underlying soil is unstable.
Piles, caissons.
Right, extending them down through unsuitable soil to transfer building loads to a more appropriate bearing stratum, like rock or dense sands and gravels.
And we're not just talking about pouring concrete. We're talking about massive concrete columns supported by isolated, mat, or combined footings, all designed with careful consideration of subsurface and groundwater conditions, site topography, and strict building code requirements.
It's a highly specialized science, but the underlying goal is the same: creating an unshakable base for a structure, that fundamental firmitas.
Precisely. And our building systems themselves are a symphony of engineered compatibility, ensuring not just static strength, but dynamic resilience. We prioritize structural integrity, fire resistance through advanced materials like concrete, gypsum, and vermiculite plaster.
And assigning specific fire resistance ratings for entire assemblies, not just materials.
Right. We also rigorously control heat and airflow and accommodate building movement due to settlement and even seismic activity factors Vitruvius understood conceptually in terms of stability.
It's impressive how the fundamental principles remain, but the methods have become exponentially more complex and precise. Even our modern materials have evolved from these basic principles of understanding properties and optimal use.
Like light-gauge steel joists, often spaced 16, 24, or 48 inches on center.
Or wood stud framing with specific spacing and headers for various spans. Roof rafters spaced 12, 16, 24 inches on center.
And for exterior aesthetics and protection, masonry veneer curtain walls are tied to studs. Even something as simple as a screw or bolt.
You mean versus a nail?
Yeah, chosen for its greater holding power and classified by its use, head type, material, length, and diameter. This echoes Vitruvius's meticulous attention to material selection, but scaled up to industrial production.
But firmitas extends beyond just structural strength today. Modern construction places paramount importance on safety as the very foundation of all efforts.
Absolutely crucial.
OSHA's General Duty Clause, for example, mandates that employers provide a safe environment. This includes managing physical hazards, the top 10 cited violations in 2015, often related to these, and handling hazardous materials.
HAZCOM standards, material safety data sheets for everything on site.
It's about protecting the people who build and the people who will use the building. It's fundamental.
And it's not just regulations, it's a proactive cultural shift, hopefully. Comprehensive safety programs, education, training, contractor safety enforcement, job hazard analysis, safety committees are absolutely critical.
Without a solid foundation of safety, the effectiveness of all management efforts is questioned. It's a modern recognition that human life and well-being are fundamental, maybe implied in Vitruvius's healthy sites, but now explicitly codified.
Well said. Moving to utilitas in the modern world, functionality and value.
Okay, how does that manifest?
Today, this involves selecting, assembling, and integrating various building systems for optimal performance. It's about ensuring a building not only stands, but performs efficiently, sustainably, and serves its intended purpose effectively over its entire lifespan.
And this is where concepts like value engineering come in. It's described as a beneficial pre-construction service, where multidisciplinary teams work to enhance owner objectives across the board.
Aesthetics, cost, quality, durability, functionality, sustainability, the whole package.
It's about preventing costly redesigns by providing timely cost advice during the design phase, optimizing for value from the outset. It's almost like Palladio's meticulous measuring, but applied to the projected future of a building.
That's a good analogy. We also see the rise of integrated project delivery, or IPD. This is a truly modern approach that integrates people, systems, business structures, and practices into a process that collaboratively harnesses the talents and insights of all participants.
Teamwork makes the dream work, essentially.
Kind of, but systemically structured. To optimize project results, increase value to the owner, reduce waste, and maximize efficiency. It's a systemic approach to achieving holistic utility and value, recognizing that a building project is a complex ecosystem.
And crucially, accessibility is another huge modern aspect of utility. We have ADA accessibility guidelines that specify everything from stair tread depth, 11 inches minimum, and riser height, 4 inches minimum, 7 inches maximum,
to handrails that extend horizontally beyond the top and bottom of ramp runs.
This ensures buildings are functional for everyone, regardless of physical ability, a social utility that ancient builders, for all their genius, didn't explicitly address in the same way.
A really important evolution of utilitas. And critically, adaptive planning. projects rarely perform exactly as initially planned. They're constantly influenced by internal and external factors, new requirements, unforeseen issues, even court decisions, or real-world application failures.
Things change, basically.
Right. So adapting plans with a holistic view and robust change control processes is crucial for generating value and avoiding scope creep. It's a recognition that real-world projects are dynamic systems, not static blueprints.
A challenge Vitruvius undoubtedly faced, but we now have systems to manage it, which leads us to venustas today, aesthetics and quality.
The final leg of the stool.
In modern construction, quality management is considered the third leg of the three-legged stool, alongside cost and time. It focuses on achieving specific performance levels, driven by policies, procedures, work processes, and rigorous audits.
Daily inspection and testing ensure work aligns precisely with specifications. It's not just about looking good, but being built well, embodying that ancient idea of propriety through execution.
And just as Vitruvius detailed specific column proportions, we have detailed discussions on finishes. Gypsum board with various thicknesses and corner reinforcements, resilient furring channels for sound transmission.
A range of ceiling materials like acoustal tile and plaster, and diverse floor finishes including cement, marble, terrazzo, wood, and vinyl tile.
Every detail, down to the texture and color, contributes to the overall aesthetic and functional quality, all aimed at creating spaces that are both beautiful and durable.
And beyond the physical, there's the quality of communication. In our information-saturated world, curbing information overload through effective communication with stakeholders, both written and verbal, formal and informal, is paramount.
Effective stakeholder identification, analysis, and engagement are crucial for project success and overall quality, because a building project, no matter how technically perfect, can fail if the human element, the communication, breaks down.
That's a vital point. Now connecting these ancient principles to one of the most pressing modern imperatives.
The green and sustainable perspective.
Wow, this feels like a natural extension. It really is. This is a direct, evolved application of the holistic thinking embedded in Vitruvius and Palladio that buildings must be in harmony with their environment and serve humanity for the long term. Ecological design, for instance,
Tries to mimic nature.
aims to transform matter and energy using processes compatible with nature, mimicking natural systems. Sustainable design expands this by adding the triple bottom line effects: environmental, social, and economic responsibility.
Site optimization is a perfect example of this ancient principle applied today. Modern green buildings are designed to be highly integrated with the local ecosystem.
Considering geology, topography, solar insolation, hydrology, wind patterns.
Landscaping isn't just decoration, it's a powerful adjunct for natural heating and cooling, providing shade, windbreaks, and even improving air quality. Just like Vitruvius considered wind in town planning.
Exactly. We're optimizing for environmental forces, but with a new level of scientific understanding and technological capability, and passive design is at the forefront of this.
Maximizing daylighting and natural cooling ventilation.
Means less reliance on artificial systems, reducing energy consumption. Thermal mass materials like brick, concrete, and adobe in floors and walls can store solar energy during the day and release it as temperatures drop, moderating indoor temperatures naturally.
And minimizing east and west surfaces reduces solar load, a sophisticated version of ancient solar orientation. It's about working with nature, not against it.
Something our ancient masters implicitly understood. Daylighting itself is a hallmark of high-performance buildings.
And the benefits are measurable, right? Not just nice to have.
Definitely. It offers substantial free light, physical, and psychological benefits, and has been shown to increase retail sales by 30 to 50%, boost learning rates in schools by 20 to 26%, and potentially raise office worker productivity by 10 to 15%.
Those are huge numbers, proving that venustas and utilitas are deeply intertwined with human performance and well-being.
Water efficiency is another critical area, reflecting a new level of resource consciousness. Setting goals to exceed code requirements, sometimes aiming for a factor 10 concept, a 90% reduction in water use is becoming standard.
Wow, 90%. How?
Reusing and recycling water for landscaping or toilet flushing, and using low-flow fixtures like 0.8 gallons per flush toilets or 0.5 gallons per minute faucets. The concept of wearergy,
Water energy nexus.
exactly, highlights the tight coupling, recognizing that saving one often saves the other. It's about designing entire systems for efficiency.
And the materials we choose matter more than ever. connecting directly back to Vitruvius's detailed material science.
Sustainable construction considers the entire life cycle of products, from extraction and processing to manufacturing, shipping, use, repair, and eventual disposal.
Whittle to grave, or hopefully cradle to cradle.
Right. The fundamental objectives are to reduce non-renewable resource consumption, minimize waste, and create healthy environments. This involves a crucial shift from non-renewable to renewable resources and biomaterials like wood, hemp, bamboo, and biopolymers.
Designing buildings that are good for the planet, not just for people.
Ventilation has also become highly refined. ASHRA 62.120 and 10 provides a framework for effective systems. Monitoring CO2 levels now acts as a surrogate for overall air pollution.
Allowing ventilation rates to be adjusted dynamically.
Yes, by automatic control systems, ensuring optimal air quality while minimizing energy consumption. It's a scientific, data-driven approach to healthy environments.
These efforts are often driven and validated by green building certifications like AD and Green Globes.
Right. Apple Campus 2, for example, is an NZE building. Net zero energy utilizing extensive passive design and photovoltaic panels, a testament to what's possible.
But it's not always straightforward. I remember hearing about the Bank of America Tower.
Yes, its A-LEED Platinum rating, and the initial controversy over its actual energy performance highlights the complexity of assessing greenness. It showed the gap that can exist between design intent and real-world operation.
A learning curve.
Definitely. Newer A-LEED versions now require minimum energy performance improvements to address this. Measuring actual performance is key.
Finally, let's consider project management as the modern conductor of all these efforts. How has that evolved?
It's moved beyond simply managing tasks to a systems view of value delivery. This links portfolios, programs, and individual projects to an organization's overall strategy, focusing on outcomes and value, not just outputs.
Ensuring everything contributes to the bigger picture.
Exactly. Planning and control approaches are tailored. Predictive or waterfall approaches are used for well-defined requirements, especially in high-investment, high-risk projects, maybe like those Roman roads.
Makes sense.
But adaptive or hybrid approaches are increasingly used in changing environments, reflecting the reality of complex modern construction. This tailoring considers organizational values like customer centricity or risk appetite.
And systems like the last planner system, what's that?
It's used for production planning and control, aiming to improve workflow reliability and ensure scheduled tasks are ready when needed, essentially perfecting the collaborative workflow on the ground level.
Budgeting and scheduling are, of course, critical. Estimating based on past experiences, understanding time-cost trade-offs.
Schedule compression techniques to shorten durations without reducing scope. Management information systems track project status and identify variances, providing crucial feedback loops Vitruvius could only dream of.
The goal is efficiency and predictability in an increasingly complex world.
And stakeholder engagement is paramount, echoing the civic importance of ancient Roman structures. It involves collaboratively working with stakeholders to introduce the project, elicit their requirements, manage expectations, resolve issues, negotiate, prioritize, problem solve, and make decisions.
It sounds like a lot of people skills are needed.
Absolutely. It requires a blend of soft skills, active listening, conflict management, and leadership skills like vision and critical thinking. It even involves decision-making methods like Roman voting to minimize groupthink.
Roman voting, like thumbs up, thumbs down.
Sort of a structured consensus method, a direct echo of ancient civic practices. It demonstrates how foundational human interaction remains in bringing complex projects to life.
So we've come full circle, haven't we? We've seen how Vitruvius laid down the enduring principles of architecture's strength, utility, and beauty.
Firmitas, utilitas, venustas.
And how Palladio masterfully brought them into a new era, interpreting and codifying them to influence centuries of design. From the solidity of foundations to the flow of city planning, from the elegance of a column to the functionality of a building's purpose, their insights transcend time.
They speak to a universal human need to build and to build well, a dialogue across millennia.
Today, whether we're engineering a sustainable skyscraper, managing a complex infrastructure project, or designing a quiet, functional home, the core tenets of strength, utility, and beauty remain our guiding stars.
The ancients understood, with remarkable clarity, that a well-built structure is a symphony of these elements, a powerful reflection of human ingenuity and our profound relationship with the environment.
So, as you look around at the built world today, at the bridges you cross, the buildings you inhabit, or the cities you move through, consider this. Are we merely building, or are we, like Vitruvius and Palladio, truly designing with foresight, integrity, and a deep understanding of our place in the continuum of human creation?
What blueprints are we laying for the future? And what will they tell future generations about our values, our ingenuity, and our commitment to enduring quality? A question worth pondering.